Welcome back, everybody. Hot Mic rolls on. Busy Wednesday. Summit League tournament officially will tip off later today, 4:30, with the women's first-round game. The men's first-round game will follow at about 7 o'clock. It is tradition for our next guest to join us. Usually I'm doing this face-to-face, so he probably appreciates the fact he doesn't have to see me until about Friday. Summit League Commissioner Josh Fenton joins us as the league tournament returns to Sioux Falls for a 17th consecutive year. You're a busy man, so I appreciate the time, and this is what you wait all year for, is the Summit League tournament. It's different, though. I applaud. It's a Wednesday, man. You're going to finish on a Sunday. What's the atmosphere like starting on a weekday like this?
Well, we think the atmosphere this weekend throughout the entire tournament is going to be incredible. That was part of the date slight adjustment or the day change, however you want to look at it, to be able to finish on the weekend and have people not, start on a weekend and then go into the next week. I know a lot of things were challenging for people as we finished quarterfinals on Sunday night. And then we had semifinals on Monday afternoon, Monday night, and people said to me, well, I wake up on Monday morning and I feel a bit groggy, and yet you still have a lot of basketball games to be played.
Correct.
So we think that the day change is going to be a good one for the fans and give the league some great exposure.
I got to ask, are all garbage cans accounted for with Omaha coming to town? It's such a unique deal because I've had Kyan on the show, but it's something that's got the league attention, though, Josh, over the last 2 months.
It certainly has. So first off, full credit to Chris Crutchfield, his staff, and that program for an amazing run that they've gone on in our regular season. I think if you and I were talking about where we saw the Omaha men's basketball program in early to mid-December, I don't know what we would have said. And I think that's in all fairness and honesty to where the program was. And I think Crutch would say the same thing. But what he and his team and staff have done to put them in the position that they're in, which is regular season conference champions and number one overall seed going into the tournament, is just incredible. And then certainly the trash can excitement that's captivated, I guess, the college basketball world and has been picked up obviously a lot on media publications across the country is a great thing for them, and we'll certainly hop on their surfboard and ride the wave as long as we can.
Tell me about the excitement we mentioned here with the changing of the date, with the first round games today, of how getting this started here. Not necessarily a test run for what tomorrow and Friday bring, but what do you like to see out of today? Especially you don't have any quote unquote local teams to the area, of what you wanted, how you want to start the event today.
Well, I think we look forward to a great start. We're going to have two good matchups. We're going to start with Omaha and Denver on the women's side. Always a competitive game there. And then Kansas City and Oral Roberts on the men's side. I think if we rewound ourselves back to October, people would have thought maybe a little bit differently about certainly Kansas City, but even Oral Roberts. And, they've had challenging years. But having said that, I've watched both of them in person, and I think each are capable of really beating anybody. And so whoever comes out of that game tonight, and it's going to be a great one, Omaha will have their hands full tomorrow night. But no, we're looking forward to just kind of kicking things off, getting things started. It's a good way to ease into it, to have games not happening until 4:30 this afternoon as opposed to noon. The venue already looks fantastic. Our team and staff have worked really hard, and things are coming together, and we'll be ready for that first game here in a few hours.
I know we talked, maybe I talked with Mindy Kay about this, about being one of the first tournaments done. Instead, you're going to be done, and then Selection Sunday isn't still for another week. Is there advantages, disadvantages to that in your mind?
I don't know, Dom. I think there's probably both. A coach may have a different opinion than I would have. I think at the end of the day, it goes back to what is the structure, the time frame that serves our student athletes and fans in the best way it can. How can we give them the best experience? I talked a little bit already about the day structure and how we think it can serve fans a little bit better. Some coaches would say, give me all the rest that you can give me going into the NCAA tournament. Others would say, you've given me too much rest. So you've had those conversations with coaches before. So I don't know where that kind of falls. I do know with CBS Sports Network, we're going to have a spotlight on us on Saturday night and then Sunday afternoon and really Sunday night. I believe we're the only championship game on Sunday night and maybe kind of somewhat of a standalone game on a national television network that night. So that's going to be great exposure and focus in around the league.
When CBS came with this, or can you give us the backstory, Josh? Was it you guys approaching them or a collaboration on, hey, we're thinking of moving it. Is there a time that would work for you that we can play this game with maybe nobody else going on that particular time?
Yeah, definitely a collaboration. They didn't come to us. We had a committee that was formed, and really, I will tell you that the committee's direction was, yes, a little bit about media exposure nationally, but more so about how can we provide a better experience on the day structure. And again, we feel like the weekend's better. But as you can appreciate, whether you're working with any national television network, you need to fit into the programming windows. You don't just come to them and tell them what time you're playing. I suppose if you're the SEC and the Big
Yeah, I was
Ten,
going to say some do.
yeah, some do. You're correct, Dom. We haven't quite worked our way to that point. I have a vision long term into the future that eventually the Summit League will be able to go to the national television network and tell them what time we're playing, and they'll be ready to go. But that's not quite for this year, and so certainly matching the programming windows has to happen in order for us to get the exposure that we want. And it's not perfect, but we feel good about it.
You and I have chatted the last couple of years. I've asked you, what's the number one thing keeping you up or the number one thing on your to-do list? I'll ask you, what's number one in college athletics that has your attention on this Wednesday morning?
Yeah, I mean, I really talk about four things that kind of consume my time. Number one is membership. Number two would be the national environment, the national landscape, what's going on across the NCAA space. Number three would probably be the sport of basketball and how we prioritize in and around the sport of basketball and what we can be doing to elevate the sport of basketball. Certainly this weekend's a big part of that. And then four would probably how do we continue to build our brand through media rights, whether it's national television, streaming, digital exposure in general, website, social media, et cetera. And so those are the four things that consume a lot of my mind, maybe some more than others at different times, but that's kind of where the focus has been recently.
Okay, so number one's membership. Give us an update then. Where are we at on Summit League membership right now?
I kind of walked into that one, didn't I? And by the way, I offered those four in no priority
I
order.
understand.
So your viewers and listeners should not believe that membership, even though I said it first, is the top priority. It's just those one of four. Dom, it's a similar story to what we've talked about in years past. We continue to talk about it. I have our President's Council meeting on Friday morning. It will be on the agenda. It will consume quite a bit of our time. We have 9 committed members. I believe that fully because I communicate regularly with our athletic directors and our presidents and chancellors. And we're always looking at opportunities to add value to the league. I wish we were going to break news on your show today. Like I told you, I wish we were going to break news on your show last year, but we're not today. And so I can assure you that we are working hard behind the scenes to look at those opportunities that add value and having the conversations. We got a great story to tell. We've got 9 committed institutions, state flagships, strong regional publics, strong privates, academic profiles are on the higher end. We've got great basketball tournament. We've got great investment into college athletics by our institutions. And so we see ourselves as very attractive to those that may be looking for an opportunity to align with institutions like ours. So it remains a focus. It will continue to be a discussion point, but it's really focused and added value to the league.
I'll ask, I don't know if you can answer, how far along down the road did you get with Northern Illinois? They're in the horizon now. Were there any talks with you guys in NIU?
Not really.
Okay.
From a geographic standpoint, I think, where they landed and maybe there would have been another option or two, maybe made a little bit more sense. But yeah, that really wasn't much of a discussion.
I have to ask as well, because your name is bandied about for potential replacement as Missouri Valley football commissioner. Is there any to that? Is that something you'd be interested in?
Well, so what I will tell you about football, because it goes back to membership, is that the role of football has an important position as it relates to what the Summit League is
Right.
trying to do or wanting to do with membership. If we're going to have a conversation with school XYZ and school XYZ is a football program, they may ask me, what are my opportunities with my football program? Because we don't officially sponsor that sport in the Summit League. And so we've been working hard behind the scenes to figure out what that best model is, knowing that the Missouri Valley Football Conference has been a really successful conference for many years. And we've worked our schools that play football, one very well, have worked cooperatively with the Valley schools in having what they and we believe is the best FCS conference in all of Division One FCS football. And so, more to come on ultimately what that structure may look like in the future. But we understand that the role football plays as it relates to the impact on the Summit League membership, and that's something that we've been working on.
So you say Summer League football isn't necessarily dead. That there's still a chance that could happen.
Well, I think the way to approach it is there is the Missouri Valley Football Conference. That's a collection of schools from the Valley, the Summit League, and one school from the Horizon League. That's a group that's existed well together for many
Yeah.
years. I think there's a desire to continue to be aligned with one another. What does that structure look like? That's what we're working on right now.
I know as well that there's strong talk of the basketball tournament, the NCAA tournament expansion. How direct are you involved in those conversations as a league commissioner? Are they coming to you and saying, okay, we're going to do this. It may not affect you, but we're maybe going to go to 76 schools by early as next year.
The commissioners are involved from a couple points of view. One are updates from NCAA leadership, whether it be President Baker, Danny Gavitt, the Vice President for Basketball, Lynn Holzman, who works on the women's side. So they kind of give us updates on where that process is. There's probably some commissioners that are a bit more intimately involved from power conferences as they look at that. It kind of comes back to a couple of things, I think, for most of us is one, what's the business model? I don't know that it makes a ton of sense to expand if things change from a financial standpoint, in particular unit values. And then two, what does the bracket kind of overall look like? And is there access into the bracket in a meaningful way that we currently have now? We obviously have one first four site exists in Dayton that then plays into the I guess the quote unquote main bracket that starts on Thursday. Expansion to 72 or 76 likely involve additional, if I could call it, first four sites. What are the seeds and how does those sites get populated? Remains to be seen. I think the first thing to address is the business model and ensuring that the business model works. And this is where the NCAA is speaking with our great media partners of Turner and CBS and ESPN on the women's side. And then from there, what's the bracket look like? For the Summit League, and I think for a lot of mid-major conferences, we would want meaningful access into the tournament because that's ultimately what we have right now.
Josh, my last thing for you. I've had plenty of people ask me about the scenarios with St. Thomas, and obviously they're ineligible for the NCAA tournament, but they certainly could win the Summit League tournament here on either the men's or the women's side. Can you give us the backstory on their inclusion into the tournament and the precarious spot you could be in Sunday night if they win it, but they're ineligible to go to the tournament?
Yeah, so I can't give you the full backstory on the why of including them within the tournament, other than to say that we wanted to provide experiences into the postseason basketball structure for St. Thomas. It was important to them, provide their program an ability to continue to build, which they obviously have done. And so we 100% support their involvement in the men's and women's tournament. But knowing that they were ineligible to participate in the NCAA tournament, we needed to come up with a model that determined if they were to win our men's or women's tournament, what was that? And at the time, it was looking back at the full body of work of the regular season, essentially saying that our number one seed going into the tournament is likely having the full best body of work. And so that is the team that should be representing the conference in the NCAA basketball tournament. And so if St. Thomas were to win on the men's or the women's side, our number one overall seeds, which is South Dakota State on the women's side and Omaha on the men's side, would be representing the Summit League in the men's or women's NCAA tournament.
What's the under-over on the amount of steps you're going to get in here over the next 4 days? What do you think?
Yeah, a lot. I need to figure out my comfortable shoes. You know, you may see me on a couple days in sneakers. Hopefully people won't pass judgment, but that seems to be acceptable these days. Sneakers with suits, right?
Yes, of course. Yes. The question
So
I have,
I may have a few days like that.
the question I have is when you present the trophy, has it ever slipped? Have you ever have you ever anything like that? Stick them? You got
It hasn't. Now that you said it, though, I'm sure something is going to happen on Sunday afternoon or Sunday night. So
Come on now.
thanks a lot for that,
I'm
Dom.
not manifesting anything. I was just wondering. So
Yeah.
I know you're a busy man. Really appreciate you making time. Can't wait to see you on Friday. Thanks so much for doing this, and good luck this week, okay?
Thanks, Dom. Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you.
Josh Fenton, Summit League Commissioner, joins us each year before the basketball tournament. It gets going later today down in Sioux Falls with the opening round game between Omaha and Denver. That's at 4:30 on the women's side. Kansas City and Oral Roberts coming up tonight at 7 on the men's side. And then the quarterfinals start tomorrow. The top seeds on each of the men's and the women's side playing on Thursday. We'll take our final break of the first hour. Dave Richmond coming up in hour 2 as the Bison men get set to make their trip to Sioux Falls. That's coming up on a busy Wednesday show. We're back after this.